Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the 20 by 20 Wellbeing Challenge.
Welcome to all our audience who have signed in. We have an exciting session today, so I hope you all look forward to it. Tell us, Brother Shamil, what do you think?
I mean, today we have a real treat planned, just like we have every single day. But today I feel is extra special because it fits in also so well with the theme that we've been presenting all along.
Yes.
And alhamdulillah, I think as the days go by, we're now building towards the main crux of it.
Yeah, and the main crux of it is our theme, which is right behind us, which is a beautiful quote by Imam Ali, which is, you presume you are a small entity, but within you is enfolded the entire universe. And this is the theme that will follow for the rest of the days to come, and all the speakers will speak about everything that they speak about is an embodiment of this specific quote. So tell us, Brother Shamil, today who do we have, and are we all ready to hear out our incredible speaker?
So I think what just happened, I think we've just had a bit of a technical issue that people could not hear us in this whole introduction, but they could see us. So alhamdulillah, at least you could see something. But not to worry, we've just begun, and apologies for starting a bit late as we had some technical issues. However, before we get into the speaker profile, we've had quite a few people joining the group after the registration, and I think they don't understand exactly how it works. So let me just quickly give a brief overview. Every single day will be live for about a 20 to 25 minute session with the speaker. After that, we'll go into a Kahoot where you'll have to listen to all the points being mentioned by the speaker, and the questions will be from the Kahoot. You need to participate in the Kahoot as well to be part of the challenge. After the Kahoot, inshallah, we move into the Q&A with the speaker, and that will take us through till 8 o'clock, inshallah. Right? So, I think we're ready now to welcome our speaker.
I'm more than ready to welcome our speaker because I'm so looking forward to speaking to her. We get a different perspective, and I think her topic is right up there. So, Brother Shamil Fazluddin, would you like to introduce our speaker?
Yes, so let's get the speaker profile on. Tonight's speaker is Sister Saarah Bokhari. Sister Saarah is a PhD doctoral researcher in Islamic spiritual striving, as well as being a student of Islamic studies. She works as a mental health therapist and has founded SBE.mentoring, where she provides holistic and transpersonal therapy to adults of all ages and backgrounds. She's also the amazing author of the academic work, The Myth of Jihad, as well as 2 poetic books entitled Soul to Soul and Arba'in, A Lens into a Sacred Journey. Beautiful, beautiful. She's a qualified teacher and graduate from the University of Oxford and the London School of Economics and Political Science. Her topic tonight is Sukoon for the Soul, knowing my armor in today's world. Sister Saarah.
Assalamu alaikum. Is my camera and audio okay?
Yes, absolutely. Alaikum salam. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you so much for having me here today. And apology, there are some technical issues, but I think we're good now.
Alhamdulillah. How are you doing today, Sister Saarah?
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited and really happy to hear about the work that you're all doing and the wonderful profiles that you have upcoming in the program you've already had as well. And really grateful for you to have invited me to be here to speak today as well, and just have the opportunity to do so as well, inshallah.
No, thank you for being here and giving our audience such an interesting topic to speak on. Sister Saarah will give you the floor entirely. And you can have all the 20 minutes for yourself.
Thank you so much.
Is that okay?
Absolutely. Are we ready to start?
Yes.
Bismillah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much. Okay. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. And first of all, thank you so much to you all for being present here today. and to the Wellbeing team in Dubai for inviting me to be here and also initiating this wonderful, wonderful initiative in much needed times as well. As time is short, I'm going to go straight into my topic, which is entitled Sukoon for the Soul, Knowing My Armor in Today's World. Now, I'm going to start with a story, which is my last trip to Imam Hussein's Haram during Arba'in time. I arrived at the Haram of Imam Hussein, and I remember I specifically looked up to the name of the gate through which I entered. I walked in through Bab as-Salam. Bab as-Salam meaning the gateway of peace. I looked at Imam Hussein alayhi salam in that moment, and I thought to myself that this is the land which there is so much calamity and turmoil riddled within its history. Yet you are still known as the gateway of peace. In that moment, I had a reflection at that time, and I knew it was meaningful for me on my journey. And that is that Ahlul Bayt are the door of peace, salam, because they are completely rooted in the light of Allah. In Arabic, salam refers to the idea of safety, protection, well-being, and healing. And this is why ziyarat to them heals people on a very deep, existential, spiritual level. Because it's Allah Himself who gives Himself the name As-Salam. Therefore, if Imam Hussein is Bab as-Salam, it's because Allah is As-Salam, meaning He is the complete wholeness of peace. And there is no peace to be found, not in the heavens and not in the hereafter, not in the earth and not anywhere in existence that is not Allah Himself, or rooted in Allah Himself, or manifest from Allah Himself, because He says, my name is the peace. It's not a peace or some peace or a random type of peace. It's my name is the peace. My name is As-Salam. What we understand here is that Allah, being the ultimate objective of existence, the abode of peace in the hereafter, is the ultimate aim for the human being on their journey of faith. Hence why Islam also arises from the same root word, as-salam, and also why the greeting of a Muslim in exchange to one another, when we say peace be upon you, it's not because we think we have peace independent of Allah that we're giving to each other. It's because we acknowledge we exist in the paradigm of peace that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why the greeting of the people of heaven to the people who arrive in the next life is peace be upon you for what you patiently endured, and excellent is the final home. So we must ask ourselves at this point, what is this final home other than the station of peace that is the mercy and the abode of Allah? And how does this relate to the journey of mental health and well-being and faith? It does so because the ultimate goal of mental health for any human being walking on this earth is attaining peace, salam, the name of God Himself. Whether you are a disbeliever, non-believer, Muslim, otherwise, everybody understands that the journey of life is about being in a state of inner peace or attaining inner peace or inner contentment. And as faith believers, we understand that the source of this peace is God. Therefore, the mental health journey and one of well-being can never ever be separate from God Himself, because by working on maintaining a healthy inner peace, it is one of the many facets of our lives that helps us to move towards the salam of Allah. It is when you work on yourself repeatedly and the things inside you that make you feel anxious or restless, when you keep rooting yourself in Allah, no matter how difficult those trials become, this is when you are moving towards the salam of Allah, internal to your being and external in your affairs as well. Hence, the mental health and well-being journey is entirely rooted in movement towards the salam of Allah for a faith believer. So now, let's assess how this word sukoon, which is the subject of my today's topic, ties in with the concept of salam. We understand from the Quran that sukoon is a blessed state of inner peace that Allah Himself bestows upon the believers in order to increase their faith. In this way, sukoon is actually a facilitator, a mechanism on the journey of faith. It's like a pit stop or a breeze of divine mercy that a person feels as they move towards God. It is a sense of inner peace that is a gift from the spiritual rizq from Allah. The Arabic term sukoon translates to mean ease, tranquility, and restfulness. And this differs from salam because salam, being the everlasting existential reality of God, his name itself, sukoon is more like a gift that Allah gives to the believer on their journey of faith. And we see this in the verse of the Quran, 48, verse number 4. Allah states using the word sakina, which is from the same derivative as sukoon. He says, He it is who bestowed inner peace on the hearts of the believers, so that they may grow even more firm in their faith. To Allah belong the legions of the heavens and the earth. Allah is the all-knowing, most wise. What we see from this verse is that Allah makes it very clear once again, inner peace is bestowed from me. It is not independent of me. It cannot exist outside of me. And this does not mean that we are wrong when we feel anxiety or restlessness, or indeed other symptoms of mental health, because the heart of man was also created in flux. And therefore Allah, in recognition of this, He provides an encouragement to us to continue making the decision to move towards the salam of Allah, even in those moments of darkness and despair. And indeed in moments of blessings as well, to always anchor yourself in the remembrance of the peace and mercy of God. So Allah also referring himself to the legions of the heavens and the earth, it's like he's saying to us again, I am the existential peace. I am the heavens and the earth. It's not just that I say I gift you peace for no reason or because it's just a gift. He says, I gift it to you for a reason, and that is so you grow and become even more firm in your faith. And this is why when people refer to mental health as perhaps something a bit negative, it's not the case with Allah, because He is saying, irrespective of the times and difficulties you may find yourself in, my servant, my abd, keep moving towards my peace, because the journey of faith is endless. And yes, there will be moments of restlessness, there will be moments of anxiety, there will be moments of perhaps depression, but your Lord is the one who acknowledges this, validates it, and says, it's okay. Keep going, keep trying, keep moving towards me, because the virtue of the believer is movement, exerted striving towards Allah, irrespective of the difficulties that arise on the journey of faith. And when we take this in the context of faith, the word sukoon, it also paints a broader picture of the journey to God. And we're going to explore some of the Arabic derivatives from its root word sakan in order to paint this picture for us. One of the derivatives of sakan is maskan in Arabic, and it means house, but it refers to an abode of restfulness, being rested. You know, when you're on the Arba'in walk or you're on a journey and you stop off at a service station, you are able to stop off somewhere. So this is the idea of this house in this particular context. Another derivative of sakan is the word miskin, something we have all heard, meaning the poor person, the person who is in poverty, the person who needs help, the person who feels weak. And miskin is a word that Imam Ali alayhi salam in Dua Kamail refers to himself as, and as well as all of us. He says, we are the miskin in front of Allah, the helpless, the poor, in front of the richness that is God. So our poverty refers to the fact that we have nothing. And if we rely on our own efforts, there is no peace. It is with tawakkul and trust in Allah, who is the source and bestower of peace, that we may move towards the sanctuary of salam. Ultimately, what this paints a picture of for us, in light of this word sukoon and the root word sakan, is that we are the miskin who go to the maskan of Allah in order to attain and rely upon the rizq of His sukoon on our journeys of faith. In other words, we are the poor ones who choose to go to the abode of God in order to attain and depend upon the rizq of His tranquility and His rest on the journey of faith. Allah is the breeze of divine mercy that encompasses us, the gentle reminder to keep going even in the midst of difficulty. And when we choose to keep going, we see then, in moments that are most unexpected, through creation itself, through people, He may inspire something or somebody to bestow tranquility upon your heart. This is His sakina. In the verses of the Quran, we see that this word sakina is emphasized exactly in this fashion. That a believer must ultimately use their free will from a place of intellect to choose to have faith even in difficult moments as well as the most beautiful moments, and rooting themselves in the fact that everything comes from God. and everything returns to God. And when this happens, the reward in Allah's mercy and majesty is bestowing sakina in the hearts. We see another example of this in the Quran, verse 48:18, when the believers were trialed before the peace treaty of Hudaybiyah. There is no reason for them other than the faith in their hearts to have remained in that situation. They were weaponless. They were unequipped. They had the inability to win any sort of overcoming by the enemy forces. And they were in a situation that was very much dire and desperate. The possibility of worldly defeat was very high. But in being tested as to the sincerity of their intentions, they chose to renew their allegiance to the Prophet under the tree, and he ordered them to do so in order to bring unity in the hearts, in order to bring people together, in order to strengthen their hearts in a moment like that. The Prophet ordered them to use their free will and intellect to realign to the majesty of God in those moments. And in doing so, Allah then revealed this verse, 48:18, to express his pleasure and contentment at their faith. He says, you have declared your faith and uncertainty. Now I am the sakina in your hearts. And sakina becomes a form of victory because now you are rooted in the strength that comes from peace. A state of peace is the greatest strength. Think about it when you're disarrayed or your thoughts are feeling everywhere. You feel sporadic. Life is filled with chaos or drama or upheaval. There is no peace, and it's very hard to feel strong in those moments. But even in the midst of those moments, this is when Allah gives us the opportunity. Choose faith in those moments because there is a peace that comes from faith. And when you have that peace, you have the ability to think clearly, to act on your intellect, to move towards God out of a strong will and desire to do so, to have that ultimate objective of salam in your mind, to feel at ease and to keep moving forward in trials with strength. Therefore, when you are in the darknesses of disbelief, or the times we live in are difficult, or it has surrounded us in terms of ignorance, for example, another form of darkness, whatever the form of darkness may be, at every point we have the choice to renew our allegiance to God in those moments. And so just to provide some practical steps now in terms of how to apply these verses in our lives, I'm going to provide 3 key important ways that I believe as a counselor, as a therapist, as somebody who works closely with people, I believe it's very essential to move in these directions or to have these visions in mind when wanting to encompass the peace of God. And number 1, I'd say it's to eradicate negativity. That negativity which is within our control. There are things in life not in our control, and that's when we need to submit to God, to the will of God. But there are other things which are squarely in our control. Those things that you allow into you and around you. Those sins that bring about negativity. Those things that impact the strength of your faith. When you eradicate the negativity of energy that's coming towards you or within you that is not rooted in Allah, you're also inviting the sukoon of God into your heart because of that decision coming from faith. And this also means not defining ourselves based on the negativity of the times, the negativity around us. It's eradicating negativity from the actual vessel of the soul. Because understanding that validation, strength, victory, peace, these are things all rooted in God and not the world. Number 2, so number 1 being eradicate negativity. Number 2 is to choose mindfulness that actively invites the sukoon of Allah into our hearts. Choosing to ground ourselves in faith does not necessitate being grounded only, for example, in overtly religious rituals. It can also be meditation or activities that connect you back to existential peace, because wherever there is peace, there is Allah. Peace on a deep spiritual soul level, not the peace that comes from, for example, doing wrongdoing over a period of time and losing that sense of guilt and being very comfortable doing that. Peace that comes from Allah is something that's so manifest on a very deep level that the heart in His remembrance finds rest. And this is what Allah says in the Quran. And the reason why I say meditation, some people, things like yoga work for them. For some people, they like to contemplate in the morning. For some people, they like to use mantras. The reason why these things actually boost up the reminder of Allah's peace in one's life is because they're creating space for you to actually navigate and understand yourself as well. And this is why they say contemplation is worth 70 years of worship, because of the fact that it empowers the intellect to move forward in life's trials, life's journeys, life's happiness, with the reminder, with the mindfulness, with the God consciousness that ultimately Allah is the destination and Allah is the root of all happiness and peace. So number 2 being choose mindfulness, and number 3 is actively seek to embody positive traits that also enable gratitude and shukr. If you notice, for example, on the news, we've seen many people in these current days losing everything they have and going into sajda shukr in those moments and saying Alhamdulillah. And it's such a secret on the path to God in terms of even attaining his worldly and afterlife risk as well. The blessings of God come with gratitude and increase with gratitude. And this is not the reason as to why we do it. The reason why we do sajda shukr is understanding that Allah is the source of all goodness, irrespective of the times we find ourselves in. Allah is the source of peace. Allah is the source of happiness. Allah is the ultimate happiness. Wherever we find ourselves, if Allah is content with our situation, we are content with our situation. And so, in light of the embodiment of positive traits, I would also say that the believer is somebody in traditions who is meant to be someone who's very cheerful and happy, someone who smiles a lot, someone who laughs a lot, someone who chooses to be happy. Because when the soul is heavy and full, it's very difficult to enable the light of God into your soul at that point, because it's already overspilling with the weights of life. So you notice when you're happy and you're smiling and you're looking outside your window, in that moment you see everything is beautiful to you. You see the beauty of Allah in everything you do, and it gives you the opportunity to invite God into that mental cognizance in your mind, that awareness that actually everything beautiful does come from Allah. Everything peaceful, everything joyful, everything lovely and beautiful comes from Allah. So in this way, faith is not abstract. It is indeed an all-encompassing, holistic journey towards the destination of as-salam in the hereafter as well as in this life. And just to finish, I would just like to say, I started with Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and I'd like to, in his honor, end with his remembrance as well. And we know that Imam Hussein is Baba's salam. And we also know that Sayyidah Sakina was his little breeze of divine tranquility in the hardest of times as well as in the best of times. Sayyidah Sakina, her name is very poignant. And we see that although we anchor ourselves in our journey towards the divine and we go to the Baba's salam of the Imam of our time, this is why we remember the Imam of our time. His remembrance has the power to heal us, to give us restoration, to give us the breeze of divine mercy. And we learn from Sayyidah Sakina even how to offer moments of sukoon even to the Imam of your time, which is the obligation of believers. Because when you are in a good place and you are taking care of yourself and you are working on yourself and you are aware that you're in a movement towards the salam of Allah, that is when you are able to serve your Imam, and that is when your Imam is also happy with you. When one truly, truly embodies faith, becomes a companion of truth, this is when you will become the sukoon to the Baba's salam, the breeze of tranquility even to the gateway of peace, which is what the companions of Ahl Bayt were to them, which is what those people who sacrificed everything in Karbala were to Imam Hussein, and it is exactly what we aspire to be towards the Imam of our time as well. And with that, I would just like to say thank you all so much once again for inviting me here, for having the opportunity to speak, for having the honor of being in your presence, and for this truly wonderful initiative that I'm very, very grateful to be a part of as well. Thank you so much. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Thank you so much, Sister Saarah, for that amazing talk. In fact, I can already feel the sukoon permeating inside our studio as well.
That was very beautiful. We were in complete sukoon listening.
I think we transcended to the
We really did.
to another level. It was
Yeah.
good. It was very good.
Very.
So just stick around in the background. We'll come back to you with a Q&A. We'll move on to the Kahoot right now.
Inshallah.
Santo. Okay, so today's second day for Kahoot, Sister Shazia.
Second day, yes, day 2 for Kahoot, and you have the game pin right in front of you. There's a QR code as well. Please sign in and join, and please put in your full names, because those are the names we will be using every day, and that is what will show up on your on your feed. Yes, please join in. We're going to give a few seconds for this. Brother Shamil, so do you feel, do you miss rather going to Karbala is the question.
Oh, absolutely. The way Sister Saarah has mentioned. In fact, her second book, Arba'in, the journey, that sacred journey. I remember when I went for my Arba'in trip, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it's
Just taking those steps, the sukoon you get is
it's on
at another level.
It's on another level. I think a lot of people just say it, but when we're there and when we feel that kind of energy, it's a whole different type of energy, a whole different type of peace. And we went earlier this year.
Yeah.
Yes, we went as a family, and it was incredible.
And that's why we need to bring that feeling that we get there, bring it back with us.
Yeah.
And keep on holding on to that.
Absolutely.
The goodness that we have.
Yeah, true, very true. It's not something we leave there. We bring it back with us, and I think we need to keep that with us every single day in our lives.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so I think we've got quite a few people on already. We'll give it just 20 more seconds before we begin. Please come on. The game pin is 364-5020. Put your full name. This should be the same name that you've been using yesterday as well, and you should use every single day. We don't have the scores from yesterday, so inshallah, with today, tomorrow you'll get the leaderboard. Remember the leaderboards from last year, Sister Shazia?
How can I forget? That's something I can't forget.
The pressure.
From day 5, the pressure was real. And yes, I think getting there is easy. Maintaining it is the difficult part.
Do you know, sitting on this side as well, I felt pressure as well.
I don't think you did,
don't think?
Brother
All
Shamil. No.
Okay, I think let's begin with the Kahoot, yeah?
Yes, please. Let's have question number 1. Day 3, fastest fingers first. Are we ready? And question number 1 is, what is the English translation of sukoon? A, hope. B, love. C, tranquility. Or D, positivity. Which is it? The English translation of sukoon. 15 seconds.
It encompasses all of these, right?
I think it does. But which is it? There's only one right answer, and that is, yes, it's C, tranquility.
Fantastic.
I think everyone got that right.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, let's move to question number 2. Question 2, what is the difference between sukoon and salam? Is it sukoon is a purpose while salam is only for the aimma? Is it sukoon is the name of God? Salam is the manifestation of this. Salam is just a momentary feeling. Sukoon is the maqam of a believer. Or is it sukoon is a blessed state of rest whilst journeying towards salam?
Yeah, it's quite a tough question.
But beautifully put, right?
Very, very beautifully put. And those who have really listened
will have gotten it. Absolutely right. It is D. Fantastic. Whilst journeying towards salam.
Very well done. And we have question number 3. How does mental health link to the concept of sukoon? Is it use free will to enact choices that invite the sukoon? Second, the miskeen person is helpless on their mental health journey. Third, mental health only focuses on tests and removes sukoon. And fourth, sukoon is the ultimate destination for the mental health journey.
I think today's ones are quite tough.
I must say, yes. And it is A. Use free will to enact choices that invite the sukoon.
Okay, I think that stumped quite a few people there.
Oh, yes, that did.
But we can probably get a further understanding from Sister Saarah when we get onto the Q&A. Question 4. Which of the below is a verse of the Quran regarding sakina? Is it Surah number 55, verse 23? Is it 48:18? Surah number 23, verse 23? Or is it Surah number 2, verse 100?
What do you think, Brother Shamar? Which is it?
Well, if we were listening quite clearly, I think it was mentioned.
I think, yes, she mentioned it quite clearly.
Yeah. Okay, one more second. That's it. The correct answer is B, 48:18.
Yes. And the next question is, name a practical way to implement sukoon in our lives. A is be nice to others for Allah's pleasure. B is avoid all things that cause me stress. C is do yoga 3 times a day. And D, increase mindfulness and remove negativity. Name a practical way to implement sukoon in our lives. And I think we have most of the answers there already. And yes, absolutely. It's D, increase mindfulness and remove negativity.
Fantastic. And now we move on to the last question, which is based on the quiz. What image is at the bottom of the corner of the day 3 activity box? You know, the activity sheet that we have? Is it a heart? Is it calligraphy? Is it a candle? Or is it a shell?
And this time I did not give a single clue.
Yes, unlike yesterday, you actually fed out what it was.
Yes. I think it was just to help them a bit. It's the first day.
Okay. But I think those who have printed the calendar out will have it in front of them. So let's see how many got that.
Yes, because those activities are
Yes,
incredible.
got most of people, stumped there, but majority, well done. It is a shell.
And that was Kahoot for day 3. We have in third place Alita, second place Atika, and in first place we have Sayada. Very well done. Very well done.
Well done to everyone. And now we move on to the Q&A. Sister Saarah, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam. Welcome back, Sister Saarah.
Thank you. That was very enjoyable. I have to say, well done, everybody. It was nice watching it.
Alhamdulillah, it's very good having you here as well. And just a reminder to all the listeners out there, we have the YouTube comment section. Please type in your questions, should you have any, and we will kickstart the Q&A. I'll let Sister Shazia ask the first question to kickstart it, and then I'll get into my question.
Yeah. Okay. So my first question to Sister Saarah, I think that was an incredible session, and we gained a lot of information and a lot of new information, I must say. And while I was going through a lot of your poetry online as well, I was very touched and moved by the fact that you mentioned mental health is not necessarily a negative aspect, and that when you go through a hardship in life, it's actually, when it comes to Islam and God and connecting to the divine, it takes you closer to that. So or to him. Yeah. So could you expand a bit on that?
Yes, absolutely. I think we are all aware that many times in certain settings there can be taboo talking about mental health and really having that authenticity and honesty amongst one another. But the idea in Islam, which upon research and also in line with my PhD studies, is that there's this concept of authenticity and also honesty, and the idea that validation truly only does come from Allah. So it's very important to be rooted in the intentionality, in the sense of moving towards God. That's the first thing, is the intention in terms of moving towards God makes anything in life beautiful. Any struggle, any trial, any difficulty, any blessing indeed. When you're truly in the realm of faith, you see everything good that happens to you and everything bad that happens to you in light of the context of God. So you understand that there are certain things that are outside of your control. There are certain things that are impacted, for example, on the mental health journey, generationally, in terms of environment, in terms of upbringing, in terms of hormones. There are so many aspects which impact a person's mental health. And upbringing, experiences like a child may have in the first 7 years establishes their sense of identity. And these are all things that make you who you are in the world when you grow up to be an adult and you interact with the world outside. So the idea that where this mental health journey aligns to the idea of mindfulness or God consciousness in Islam is that when Allah is the forefront of your mind, He will give you certain circumstances in your life that are either testing, either difficulties, and these can manifest in a number of ways. Ultimately, there can be a sense of displacement, and mental health is ultimately a sense of displacement from oneself. It's when mental health is suffering, I mean. So it's when you are struggling, it's when you feel disconnected from yourself, it's when people have dissociation symptoms, it's when trauma is leading the view through which you see life. And the journey, if you look at the prophets in the Holy Quran, they all went through moments of intense difficulty. They all went through moments where they were tested on their journeys of faith. They had moments where they had to establish their visions for their life. And no one anywhere ever says this is easy. So I think mental health is a very natural consequence. Suffering with mental health is something that we now give labels to, but the essence of suffering, of struggling, if you even look at the du'as in Sahifa Sajadiya, it's showing you that there are moments where people will feel this intense feeling of hopelessness in themselves, or difficulty in terms of moving towards God, or struggling with various factors or environmental factors in one's life. And what Allah essentially says is, it's okay. I'm not expecting perfection from you, because you are a human being. You are somebody who comes with your own constitution, you have your own unique soul, you have your own personality, you have your own unique attributes and traits and environment within which you are raised, living, etc. And within that context, Allah is saying, I want you to move towards me with everything I've given you as a circumstance, or everything I've bestowed upon you that was outside of your control. Now, if you notice in the Quran, there's movements that the prophets make. So before and after, for example, the initiation of the prophetic message. So we take Nabi Musa, for example. He's in a pre-state where he's got Pharaoh as his stepfather, you can say, somebody who's raising him. He's lost his mother in that sense and re-established contact, obviously. There's all these different aspects of his life which completely switch around in the latter part of his life. And that's because of a series of decisions he makes. Now, no one is going to tell Musa it's easy living with a man like that. No one's going to tell him it's easy having Pharaoh, who's such an unjust ruler, leading the lands at that point. Nobody will tell him that. And in the end of the day, this is what Allah says to us as well, because the Quran is speaking timelessly, everlastingly, in every generation. So we look at the examples of the Prophet, we look at the Ahlul Bayt, we look at their very real examples of trauma, for example, in Karbala, and we understand that mental health, or these symptoms of extreme distress or difficulty that people go through in difficult times, is indeed a state that a human being passes through. It's a natural part of life. It's something that everybody at some point will experience. And therefore, the authenticity, back to the original point of being authentic, moving towards God, having the willingness to do that despite whatever it is you're faced with, this is the virtue of a believer. A believer is somebody who keeps moving towards God, irrespective of good times, bad times. They don't change because Allah is unchanged, and they recognize that Allah being unchanged means I'm the one who has to move towards Him. And this is the thing about mental health. It's a journey of movement. It's something where mental health is often used as a negative term, but it's also a very positive term, in the sense that a healthy mental health is one where somebody takes care of themselves on the mental faculty level. And again, the Sahifa shows us that safety, praying for well-being, praying for health are all du'as that the Ahlul Bayt encourage amongst their blessed words as well. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Incredible.
I just want to add on to that question a bit, Sister Saarah. For someone who's struggling with mental health issues, so not in the positive way as you say, but someone who's really struggling with it, how do they take the step towards contemplation, as you said? Because sitting in silence, contemplating, can be something disturbing for them as well, because so many other different thoughts come in. I know we should take lessons from our Aima, from our prophets, but how does someone begin what steps do they take to start and really get into that contemplative state?
This is a very good point and a very important point as well. So thank you so much for asking that question. This is absolutely true. Some people have ruminating thoughts. This is a symptom of, for example, OCD personality disorder. Some people have intrusive thoughts where they can't necessarily control the thinking that's happening or the difficulties they're having with their mind itself. Some people find it very difficult to be still, or for example, there may be conditions like ADHD where an inherent sort of sense of movement is part of the condition as well. So there's all these aspects. However, when it comes to meditation and contemplation, see, meditation and contemplation is a word and again a label, but in actual reality, it can manifest in many different ways. So for example, the person whose constitution, and this is where I say the first step is actually recognition of yourself and your qualities and who you are as a person. So if I'm somebody who, for example, goes to the gym and I find I'm walking on the treadmill, that gives me a sense of calm and connection, but also enables me to be doing something else. Like I relate to this. I'm somebody who's a huge multitasker. So sometimes I'll say, yeah, it's good to meditate, but at the same time, I also understand that there are situations where you want to be doing something else at the same time. Perhaps you want to listen to some instrumental, something that calms your soul. Maybe you want to listen to Quran while you're also doing something else. So in the end of the day, contemplation, meditation refers to a state of inner stillness. And inner stillness will be unique to how you are on your journey and on your path and on your sort of personality spectrums as well. And it's important to identify what those things are. If there's an inherent difficulty in, for example, even praying or sitting with oneself in that situation where you're able to sit and just be still with yourself, if that's the case, then it's also sometimes advisable to speak to somebody who can help you to reconnect to yourself, help you to work through the obstacles of intrusive thoughts, help you to understand that it's not the end of the world. For example, DPT is a very specific type of therapy that asks somebody to reconnect to the nature of their emotions and thoughts, but to witness them as opposed to be inside them. And this is very crucial because many times thoughts and emotions can run us, but actually what therapy teaches you is that there's a way to observe them, to keep a critical distance with them, to then be able to manage them. And I will always encourage means, and this is also the essential message of Islam, is that we have the beautiful essence and principles of healing, of well-being, and according to the zamana that we live in, the times that we live in, we use the intellect and the means of the time. Like you look at the students of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, they were so equipped in every single field. And the reason for that is that Islam is a forward-moving religion. It is something that seeks to use the means of the time to integrate within the essence of our spiritual tradition and belief. And movement to God means striving, exerted striving from the soul. And that could look like, for example, reaching out to somebody to actually manage your thoughts and emotions if you understand there's a deep imbalance. For example, doing a guided meditation where you're able to sit with, perhaps it's your inner child wounds that you want to focus on for a particular time in your life, or it's a trauma, or it's something you went through that is, causing these intrusive thoughts. Ultimately, when you sit with yourself, if you can just be aware of this is where I find myself, this is what I might need to get some help, or you can speak to somebody, or you can reach out. And this is also the essence of believers in the Quran. Believers are supposed to be a support system for each other. They're supposed to be honest and authentic with one another. They're supposed to guide one another to truth, like we see in Surah Asr, those who guide each other to patience, those who guide each other to perseverance, those people who wish to inhabit these traits and also share them with one another as well. So in these times, the specific context we live in, it is very important to firstly acknowledge that people's spectrums are different. Secondly, acknowledge that there are many means out there that we can explore. And as long as it's aligned to faith, then there is no problem in doing that. And it's actually encouraged.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
We had one question. Sister Mehek is asking, I'm having a difficulty in focusing on things or completing them. Can't stop thinking and be mindful. What would help me?
Thank you firstly for the question. I really appreciate it. And I'm personally, as a person who works in this field, I'm very mindful of giving generic advice to anybody in that sense because I don't know the specific circumstances. So what I would recommend is perhaps trying some activities of mindfulness, a spectrum of them. Some people, like I said, connect to things like yoga because there's an alignment of the physical with the mental elements of it and the emotional aspects of it as well. And some people, for example, they prefer to genuinely do, for example, something like guided meditations. And that is inviting that sense of inner stillness into one's life. Some people, like I said, need to take a walk. And in that walk, when they're physically moving, they're able to connect to some sort of inner stillness inside them, or listen to something calming as they're walking and enable that space to clear up where you're able to feel like the inner space is, present and there's a stillness about you. So it really depends on knowing yourself, knowing your physical self in terms of what your physical well-being or your constraints might be on a physical level, knowing your emotional self. Are you somebody who's particularly emotionally driven, and as a result, they're affecting your thoughts? Is it your thoughts are also affecting your emotions? There's many, many questions that a person can ask themselves in terms of getting to the root of things. Many times when someone is feeling like there are thoughts that are excessive or intrusive, it's coming from a place of there being an origin behind why that's happening. So it's never random, it's never coincidental. It could be, for example, something like ADHD, where a condition where people's minds are prone towards that. And in that sense, or for example, OCD, where I said about the compulsive thinking as well, there's different spectrums, like I said. So it's also understanding what the nature of those thoughts are. Are those thoughts telling you to do something? Are those thoughts just about everything in your life? Are you particularly stressed right now? Is it that you have a priority list to do, but you're also very anxious, therefore procrastinating, and therefore the thoughts get more? Is it that you're feeling depressed as of late because of world events? So awareness is asking yourself, or having the ability to ask yourself, how am I doing and why am I feeling like this? Or where is this coming from? What's the origin of it? And when you can truly diagnose that part, when you understand that part, it's when the solution becomes easier. It's when you can sit with yourself and say, okay, perhaps I can go and research this type of therapy, or perhaps I can learn more about these conditions, or I can apply my understanding in this context. And like I said, in cases where your thoughts are disrupting your daily routine and they become unbearable, in that case, I will always recommend to people, do start some form of therapy or reach out to somebody who can help you. Because in some cases, look, in Islam, we have a system of mentorship. It is true, teachers teach students who teach students who teach students. This is also the way that the imams were with their students. So in the end of the day, in mental health, there are cognitive abilities or psychological functions that somebody who is qualified will be able to teach you. That is a form of knowledge, and all knowledge comes from Allah. So in that case, never feel shame or hesitant that, I need a bit of help because I can't understand. Recently, my thoughts have got a lot, or recently, since world events, I've been feeling particularly like this. It's okay. It's okay. Whatever the case is, it's okay. There's always going to be a solution. And it's just for us to take that first step, pray to Allah, show me the solution. Many times the way will open up from there.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree. I think I had done my own research on intrusive thoughts, and it's a byproduct of OCD, which is which OCD is that type of OCD is a byproduct of anxiety and deep depression. So yes, and I think there are thoughts that you have overthinking, and then there are thoughts that are intrusive thoughts. And I think when it comes to overthinking, we need to practice mindfulness more, and practice being calm and having sukoon. Yes, thank you for that, Sister Saarah. And I had a last question for you. That when someone, for example, is in a particular form of, or they've undergone trauma, and they're in a healing phase, is there, when we a constant is it a constant way, can we attain constant peace within ourselves during that healing process? Because you see, I believe, and according to a lot of readings that I've done, that healing, especially when you've undergone trauma, healing is a constant process that you're going through. It's not an overnight journey. Yes, it's a long journey. And can we attain constant peace? Was my question.
Can we attain constant peace in journeys of healing from trauma? Is that the question?
Yes.
I think, as I mentioned in the speech, that the happening of restlessness or anxiety on the journey of faith, or the moments that you notice, for example, before the peace treaty of Hudaybiyah, you see that the believers were unsure. They were shaken in those moments. They were feeling uncertain. So in those moments, those are the exact moments where there is a feeling of a lack of peace, where there is a feeling of not feeling that sukoon. There are moments when even the believers were tempted to flee, tempted to flee the battlefield, tempted to walk away, tempted to not carry on the responsibilities of Islam. And what this tells us, and very interestingly, this is also the topic of my research, is that we look at the battles in Islam and they're a form of jihad, but the actual essence of spiritual striving is also in light of the word jihad, which is exerted striving on a spiritual level. Exerted striving means, the word exerted tells you that there's difficulties, that you have to overcome challenges, because exerted means pushing for something. And obviously, if there's no pressure coming towards you, you don't need to push. So what Allah is saying is extensive, exerted striving on a continuous level. That is what Allah, or attains Allah's pleasure. It's not the fact that we have to fake a sense of inner peace, or say I'm always happy and I'm always positive, because that's also a form of toxic positivity that's not grounded in reality. The human condition encompasses all spectrums of emotions. And in trauma, especially because of the difficulties in terms of processing, the journey of healing comes with so many pit stops in terms of understanding the root of trauma, where it may have come from, the impacts in childhood, the reiteration of it later on in adulthood. There is many, obviously, different types of trauma, or even PTSD, or CPTSD, but in the end of the day, trauma identifies that brain patterns have been altered as a result of intrusive events. And when brain patterns have been altered, it means that there are going to be some inherent survival mode mechanisms that you enact in order to survive those situations. And when that happens, you may not encompass peace at all. You may have the intrusive thinking. You may have moments of despair. You may have moments of difficulty. What Allah is essentially saying is, in those moments, use your intellect in terms of that last bit of hope that might exist inside you, that candle that's flickering inside you, that source of inspiration that's come from somewhere. Use that to turn back to Him. And in that moment, you may not get an answer straight away, because this is the nature of the dunya. It takes time for things to unfold in front of us. It takes time for destinies to unfold. But when Allah hears your sincere plea in a moment like that, He looks at His servant and He smiles. He's very happy with the servant who does that, because it's the fact that you've chosen to turn to Him when you could have chosen something else. This is the beauty of free will, is that despite everything, despite the human experience, despite the trauma, and we look at Sayyidah Zainab when we talk about trauma. I mean, what didn't they endure? What didn't she have to process? Look at how the wives of Imam Hussein alayhi salam came home and behaved in certain ways, or some of their lives were shortened even because of the trauma they saw. Look at the life of Imam Sajjad and how every time he was drinking water, the effects that it would have on him, or every time he's going to the market and sees the butcher's shop, how it would affect him. This is trauma that we're seeing even in the Ahl Bayt, who are perfect human beings. And this shows you that it's part of the human experience. And that validates us to understand that it's okay. If our masters went through trying times, we, when we walk in their footsteps, especially for their sake, will go through trying times. It's not necessarily the trials are linked to direct understanding of, oh, it's because I'm putting my religion first, this is what's happening to me. Many times, Allah, just to strengthen your soul towards your journey towards Him, which ultimately is our ultimate return. On that journey, you'll face many types of trials. And this is what He says in the Quran, many different types of trials. And it's just for us to find that little bit of hope, that little bit of inspiration that, you know what, despite what I'm going through, Allah, I know You're there. Allah, I might not see the wisdom right now. I might not understand. Allah might be broken. But this vulnerability in front of God is what opens up the soul towards very beautiful things ahead in your healing journey. Because like I mentioned, Allah is the healing, Allah is the salam, Allah is the destination, Allah is the journey itself. And in this case, I would always say, no, peace, or the feeling of peace, because feelings are also fleeting, emotions are fleeting, thoughts are fleeting. What is not fleeting is a state of the soul. It's everlasting and eternal. So in this sense, we connect back to God, who is the unchanged, who is everlasting, and we just pray in those moments, sincerely pray and seek the help that we can help. Seek the counsel you can seek, because seeking counsel, when you say about therapy as well, seeking counsel is something that is mentioned in the Quran and also in Hadith. The believers are those who seek counsel amongst themselves, or seek counsel from those who know. And this form of knowledge will always empower you in terms of healing from trauma. So in the end of the day, sorry for the long-winded answer, but it's just something that, you know, encompasses many facets, and there's no expectation on any of us to have it figured out all the time, constantly, because it's just not human nature to be like that.
It's incredible.
Subhanallah. I think, it goes perfectly well, everything that Sister Sarah has explained with our theme, that if we just sit and read this theme and just focus on it, that you presume you're a small entity, but within you lies or is enfolded the whole universe.
Absolutely.
You know,
And I love the
subhanallah.
fact that you said that Allah is both the destination and the journey. So thank you for that. Thank you, Sister Saarah. It's been incredible having you here, and I know the audience also has loved you as much as we have. Don't you think, Brother Shah?
Absolutely. I think everyone has taken everything in. And I was just watching the counter and I noticed that no one dropped off during the Q&A, which is beautiful to see, So once again, Sister Sarah, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge, giving out your service to us. And
Thank you.
inshallah, we will definitely be back knocking at your door for some more sessions with you. But in the meantime, if people want to get in touch with you to understand a bit more, how can they get in touch with you? Through Instagram?
You can contact me on my Instagram page, is at sb.mentoring, or my main Instagram page, which is at Saarah Bokhari. And yeah, that's probably the best way. And I have email links on there if you wish to email me as well.
Super.
Okay, we'll put the links on our group once we're done with the session.
Great. So, Sister Shazia, today's book is a special book.
Yes, it's a very
Yeah.
special book. I was actually reading through some of the excerpts on this, and it's a book by our dear sister Saarah Bokhari. And among most of the books and the excerpts that I read from this specific book, this one is really special. This is a collection of poetic storm musings reflecting upon the journey of life towards the divine. It's about this writing intends to be a catalyst for the reader to reach and search within. And because it's a book about poems, the poem is called Worry Not. Trusting him is the most beautiful place to be, as though I sat upon a cloud, knowing nothing can rain on me, because he already lifted me to the sanctuary of his peace. So I sit above in the abode of trust, far beyond the rainfall of my own worries. Incredible, isn't
Subhanallah.
it?
Thank you so much for that. And with that, we come towards the end or to the end of day 3. I think let's just put up the daily activity
The
list.
daily activity list, please, so we can see. I think today was
Repeat a
repeat
positive
a positive affirmation. Yes. And I think we had someone also telling us that her daughter's affirmation was that I believe in myself. I think that's an incredible affirmation to have. Brother Shaman, what would you have?
Excellent. I think there's so much to have. And today, day 3 is over. So I'm going to go and do mine now.
Yes, please. we need to. And I think positive affirmations, like we were talking about yesterday with Brother Zainali, that it really helps, and writing it down also helps in realizing that for yourself, and repeating it is like keeps it in the head and makes you believe in it. So that was all for today. Thank you so much for signing in.
Absolutely. We thank you all, and inshallah, we'll see you back tomorrow at the same time, hopefully with no glitches, with a very, very special speaker tomorrow as well. And with that, we bid you good night. God bless. Bye.
Thank you.